Hey, what's up guys, my name is Fox and welcome to another video. Today we're going to break down the Red Gunlance aka Lone Knight Gunlance playstyle. We're going to cover everything you need to know about this class. If you're looking for something specific, feel free to check the timestamps which might have exactly what you're looking for. First, let's have a look at what the Red Gunlance playstyle is like. The Gunlance as we currently know it has two class engravings, Lone Knight and Combat Readiness. While Combat Readiness is a spammy all-tanking overlord playstyle, the Red Gunlance is a chat burst playstyle that pumps very big numbers. When playing as Lone Knight, you have a short window where most of your damage will be happening. Our two main damage skills are the Surge Cannon and the Charged Stinger. If you miss those, you might as well just be AFK. Once you have executed your burst properly, you then have a few filler skills to continue doing additional damage until you restart your proper burst window. So if you enjoy burst-oriented classes, the Red Gunlance might just be your thing. To elaborate a bit more, Red Gunlance comes with a very high amount of destruction and very decent stagger. Seeing as you want to run Nellasia's energy, which is your party-wide shield, Red Gunlance is exactly like Blue Gunlance, extremely desired in any party. For those that don't know, we refer to Lone Knight as Red Gunlance since you use the red looking skills for this playstyle. The Lone Knight engraving does increase the crit rate and crit damage of our Gunlance skills, yet this comes at the cost of consuming double the shield gauge while you are in shield stance. The battlefield shield becomes disabled, which is not a big deal since currently we barely use this in any content anyway. Now let's go over the skills that we use. In order to not make this section too long, I will not be going in depth on every skill, but rather focus on the ones that we use for the Red Gunlance. We start off with Sharp Gunlance, which is basically a Chaos Dungeon skill and is never used in any raid setup. Feel free to use it for your Chaos Dungeons if you want to. Exactly the same goes for Rising Gunlance. It has no place in any raid setup, but can of course also be used for your Chaos Dungeons. Now we're gonna get to the first useful skill, which is Fire Bullet. Fire Bullet is a prime filler skill outside of our rotation. What also makes it so good is the fact that it does have stagger and weak point level 1, which can be even increased to level 2. Another reason what makes this skill really nice is the Lucky Chance tripod. Every time you use it, you have a 50% chance to reduce its cooldown by 3 or more seconds. With the last tripod, Attack Creation, you can even reduce the cooldown twice, allowing it to literally go back off cooldown after you just used it. Tripods we use here are Lucky Chance, Enhanced Strike and Attack Creation. Weak Point Enhancement is situational and can replace Enhanced Strike. One of our core skills that we can run, but it's not a must run, more on that later. For runes, our best choice here is the Quick Recharge rune. Next up, we have Dash Up a Fire, one of our must-run skills. Besides having some decent damage, Dash Up a Fire comes with one of the best and most versatile counters in the game. Its range is extremely long and is also executed very quickly. This allows you to counter very comfortable from range and at a nice speed. It's our bread and butter counter skill and finds its way into our must-run skills. For tripods, we have multiple choices you can use. In the first row, you mostly want to use Ready Attack, but both Quick Prep and Excellent Mobility are viable choices. The other two tripods would be Weak Point Detection and Extra Shell. For the runes, I do suggest the Overwhelm rune here. We're moving on to one of our core skills, the Charged Stinger. After charging up, the Gunlance unleashes a massive strike in front of him. This is one of our biggest damage skills and should always be on your hotbar when playing Redlands. Make sure to hit it from the front for additional damage of course. Tripods here are also very straightforward, Weak Point Detection, Charge Enhancement and Last Charge. Not any debates here, Gale Wind is the best rune we can use. Buffed in a recent patch, we find ourselves looking at Counter Gunlance. It also has found its way into some of the meta builds now. Its primary use is to negate damage and CC, but now it also does decent damage. Once you press counter Gunlance, the Lancer stands still and awaits any attack to him to then retaliate. This can be used to negate damage that you otherwise cannot dodge. Our tripod choice here is pretty clear with ready attack, weak point detection and bombardment spear. When it comes to rune choice, I would again here also suggest the overwhelm rune. The rune here in my opinion isn't that important, so whatever you still have open can be put on this skill. Another really good damage skill is the Gunlance Shot. Also part of some meta builds, the Gunlance Shot is simply an additional damage tool where you charge your lance to unleash an explosion in front of you. We also have multiple viable tripods here with nimble movement and tenacity depending on what you prefer, followed by weak point detection and close explosion. Gunlance Shot of course also likes the Galewind rune. Our second main damage tool is the Surge Cannon. As usual, we charge up our lance to unleash a multitude of massive hits, causing massive damage, stagger, and destruction. Our main damage tool in any Red Lancer build. For tripods, we choose High Explosive Shot, Overcharge, and Focus Fire. Since this is another charge attack, Galewind is our go-to choice in terms of runes. Put your highest available Galewind rune on the Surge Cannon. Another core skill of course is Bash. You simply slam the enemy in front of you, destroying its armor and buffing your own damage. You can either run this with 10 or 7 points up to your preference. Tripods here are armor destruction, ready attack, and lastly, which I also suggest running, the Bell Strike tripod to increase the range of this skill. Bash can go either for Bleed rune or for the Rage rune. The choice is up to you as both are viable. Shout of Hatred is another core skill we run to increase the damage our target takes from our burst and our party members. On top of that, it generates the most amount of gauge out of all of our skills. Our tripods here are the Quick Prep, Shield Tripod, and most of all the Open Weakness to increase the gauge and damage taken. For Shout of Hatred, do not run the Wealth rune since it has barely any effect on it. Instead, either go for Rage rune or Focus rune if needed. And last but not least, we have Nellasia's Energy, which is simply busted as it creates a shield around every party member. On top of that, you can also cleanse debuffs for your teammates. Definitely a must run in harder content. Tripods here can be Quick Prep, Shout of Purification, and Survive. You can also run Magic Control if you find yourself having mana issues, and Lingering Power if the raid has no debuffs to cleanse. For Nellasia's Energy, you want to run the Focus rune. All the other skills that I did not mention simply are not ran in any Red Gunlance setup. They are reserved for our other playstyle, the Blue Gunlance. Now that we've looked at all the skills, let's have a look at a few possible setups. Arguably all setups are viable, but you can always swap around some skills for certain raids. First, let's go over the must-run skills, which are simply put the following ones. Dash Up a Fire for our counter, Shout of Hatred for additional party damage and gauge, Bash for additional synergy and self-buffing, and lastly, of course, Charged Stinger and Surge Cannon as our main damage skills. The remaining slots are up to your preference. I personally do suggest to run Nellasia's pretty much in any content that's a bit harder, but can of course be swapped out for Daily Guardians, for example. The last two slots then can be debated. Gunlance Shot is frequently ran for additional damage and is also quite decent. Fireballer takes a similar role as Gunlance Shot, but with a quick recharge rune can allow you to burst earlier again. Counter Gunlance can and should be used in harder content so you can tank mechanics that you cannot avoid anymore due to being slow. The choice here is honestly up to you. It's also up to the amount of skill points that you have. If you cannot put every skill to 10 points, I definitely suggest to run Counter Gunlance as it already fulfills its role with only 4 or 7 points in it. So now you know what the skills do, what to run, so let's have a look at how to gear our Gunlancer. Seeing as Lone Knight gives us additional crit damage, your favorite combat stat is crit. You simply want to stack it as much as you can. Secondary, I do suggest to run Swiftness for some more mobility, overall charge speed and CDR. If you want to run more Swiftness, you are going to give up some damage for the sake of utility, but that's of course up to you. When it comes to engravings, our choices are very straightforward. With relic gear, we can achieve 5 full engravings, and if you're a whale or want to test your luck at a 9/7 stone, you can even add an additional level 1 engraving. So our final setup would look like this. Grudge as an overall damage increase, Curse Doll as another damage increase, Supercharge for our charge skills to increase their time and also their damage, Low Knight as our standard class setup here, Master Brawler to increase the damage from the front, and then if you really want to pump it to the max, Combat Readiness level 1. These are simply put our bread and butter engravings. Now you might be surprised to see Combat Readiness 1 in here, but that is our best level 1 engraving choice. Some people refer to this as purple Gunlance, but in my opinion this is quite standard, since it increases your damage when you get hit in shield stance and also increases your shield gauge by a slight amount. I want to mention 2 additional engravings that are acceptable but suboptimal, which are first off Spirit Absorption for pure QL if you have troubles with the slow movement speed, and secondly Adrenaline if you prefer to run that for some reason. Keep in mind you need to keep attacking to keep it up, which can be hard on the red Gunlance. Please do not fall trap for Keen Blonde Weapon, as its efficiency is not as good due to us already getting crit damage from Lone Knight and also from our relic gear set, which is what we're going to look at next. There's really only one viable relic set for the red Gunlance, which is the Earth Entropy set. The additional crit chance, crit damage and damage modifier for front and back attacks is what makes it so good and makes us explode in damage. Before having this set, red Gunlance is by far not as good as it will be once you get this. And lastly, let's have a quick look at our rotation for those of you that are just starting out with the red Gunlance. Our core combo is simply to taunt into bash and then unleash our burst with Surge Cannon and Charge Stinger. Once you've executed this combo, you then rotate your filler skills. Try to use bash before using any skill, since it gives you an attack power buff. And that's already it. The rotation itself is quite simple, yet the execution is harder since you need to hit from the front in order to actually unleash all of your damage. And with that, we're at the end of this video. If you made it to here, you're an actual champ, and thank you so much for watching the whole video. If you did like the video, make sure to leave a like and also hit the subscribe button. If you think I said something wrong, if you disagree with something, please feel free to let me know in the comments. If you would like something similar for a blue Gunlance setup, also, again, let me know in the comments. If you want to see more content from me, you can always go follow me on Twitter, and also remember, I stream very often during the week on Twitch, which is also going to be put in the description below. Again, thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day wherever you live.